Welcome back to the Abundant Practice Podcast. I'm your host, Allison Pereira. I am here with my good friend, Jane Carter. Jane and I have been like buddies and supporters of one another and friends and people we cry to for the last 10 years of building our businesses, helping therapists and other, in her case, and I guess in mine, in some cases, like non-therapist entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
So we wanted to come on here and talk about some of the overarching lessons that we have learned helping people over the last decade. Can't believe
Yes.
it's been a decade.
I know. Isn't that wild? I
It's
was
wild.
it's yeah. And there's so many lessons that we could probably talk for, 3 days straight.
Absolutely.
But I think you and I agree that there are probably some key things we've seen with the private practitioners that we've coached over
Absolutely.
the years. So,
Absolutely.
and
And
then
and
oh,
just there's going to be like a longer training where we go into these two
yeah.
within the Abundance Party. So think of this as like an amuse-bouche, a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
appetizer. um, Go
Yeah.
ahead.
And it's one of the points I want to get to, but I'm actually going to start with it is just even the fact that Allison and I are still in touch and have witnessed so much in each other is
Mhm.
it really points to the fact that relationships are everything.
Everything.
And you never know, like that person that you get coffee with that one time, it may just be that person you got coffee with, but you never know when it's going to turn into something that's really supportive and insightful or make another connection that pans out in a really cool way. You just never
Yeah.
know. So yay
Right.
for connecting.
Yay for connecting. And
I'm so glad you invited me to coffee that one time.
I know, yay. Well, and yeah, I invited you to coffee, but you also hosted the event that is where Abundance got its start.
Yeah.
So yeah, right back
Yeah,
at you.
I got to see you blurt out. Okay, again, I want to turn everything into a lesson because I want to be sure like people are really getting value from this, right?
Mhm.
That just that like being in the room, and I'm an introvert, but I still love to gather people in the room. And you blurted out, "I'm Allison and I love helping people with private practice." And then you were like, "Oh, I just heard myself say that." And I
Yeah,
got to see the beginning of abundance, which is
yeah,
incredible.
little sweet
So,
baby Abundance.
I know. Okay, so I thought about a few of the things that I see, especially with my fellow therapists in private
Mhm.
practice. And the one that immediately came to mind that I hope is helpful for people is I really want to encourage people when they're creating their private practice to want the private practice that you want, not the
Yes.
one you think you should have, not the one that you think you can get by with. Really go for the thing that you want.
Mhm.
And I've noticed over the years, maybe you've noticed this too, Allison. We therapists love to suffer.
Yes, we do.
Or we don't necessarily love it, but it's our comfort zone.
Mhm.
We're used to it. And it so many times when I'm working with someone and they're like, well, but it can't be this easy, or I can't charge what I want to charge, or if I say that I want to work with who I want to work with, well, but if it's this easy or I'm enjoying it this much, surely someone must be suffering somewhere,
Mhm.
right? It's kind of rooted in the role that a lot of us played in our families.
Mhm.
Um, it's a pattern that we're used to, but we're used to being noble sufferers. And the it's so important. It's not just, hey, you can have the practice that you want, or it's there's security in that. You're actually more likely to be successful with
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes. And it's so much more sustainable as well. Because if you're
Yes.
just like doing what you need to get by, like
Yes.
no frills, no vacations, no retirement, like, which is, I mean, almost every
Yeah.
therapist that I start to work with is in that position.
Yeah.
Um, if they're doing what they need to just to get by, you get so burned out. It's so tiring. You may as well be in an agency ultimately.
Yeah. A lot of people end up recreating the agency,
Absolutely. Yeah.
the situation within their own private practice.
Hmm.
So not only is really going for the practice that you want a burnout preventer, but I would even argue, and you're so great with this, at really helping people say, hey, decide who you really want to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you say, this is the niche, or this is the ideal client that I really want to work with. Again, whether or not I should,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I want to do. You're so much more likely to go for that. And that specificity, the riches are in the niches, right? Like it
Mm-hmm.
actually is better marketing. You're more
Yeah.
likely to find those clients. Or on a philosophical level, when we're leaning into our wants, not the shoulds, but like, this is what I really want, we're leaning into our uniqueness and ourselves, like that
Mm-hmm.
X factor about us. And that's great marketing. That stands out. Now you're not kind of this bland person fitting, just kind of beige, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
standing out. So again, that makes the marketing more successful.
Yeah.
So as an example, and I'm sure you have 1,000 examples of this, but I have a client who's starting her private practice, and um, she was like, okay, well, there's a cheap office at that space. Oh gosh, it's the old hospital
The one
here in
that's
Asheville.
haunted,
It's
haunted.
haunted and it smells, and everyone
Mhm.
gets their first cheap office there. And she's
Uh-huh.
like, I guess I'll take one of those offices. But really, eventually, I'd love to have an office on a farm with like horses
Oh,
nearby, maybe some goats, maybe some chickens. And I was like, you know what? Why don't we just write out your dream office? Like, let's just like write out what you really
mhm.
want. And
Yeah.
she, in detail, wrote out the farm office that she wanted to have. And she put it out there and she found it,
Mm-hmm.
which is so awesome. I'm so excited for her. Her name's
That's
Nicole. She gave me
incredible.
permission to share her name.
Yay, Nicole.
It's incredible. But what's cool too is that by not playing it safe, by saying, okay, I'm going to do this kind of unique, weird thing, the marketing is happening on its own.
Boom. Oh my gosh. The clients that this different, non-haunted, smelly space, but just like, it's not
Yes,
just a nice office in our town. It is
it's a farm.
interesting. It's
They have,
exciting.
yeah, and it reflects her because she's very playful, and like literally there are baby goats
Oh my
like
gosh.
jumping all over you, and I mean
Is she
she's doing like
accepting clients? I want to go.
she's accepting clients. Yes. And and people are seeking her out because they're like, ooh, like not only is this a space that reflects her, the way she's integrating nature into the therapy. It really
Mhm.
is a healing space. I went out there, I saw it. It's like you can sit by a babbling brook while you do therapy. You can pet a horse. But also it reflects her playfulness, her personality. So like the going for, there's so many other examples, Marisol, who wanted to integrate fashion and therapy. You and
Mhm.
I both know her, and it was like, I've never heard of that, but okay. And now she's doing this incredible business.
Mhm.
It really stands out. It's different. It stands
Right.
out and it
And there's a
reflects.
confidence that standing out communicates.
Yes, exactly. So playing it safe is not safe.
Mm-hmm. Oh, this is so good. Yeah. Yeah. Playing it safe is
Yeah,
not safe. I
it's
mean, because
not safe.
playing it safe is also staying in your agency job. That's not safe
Yeah,
emotionally or financially.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, it's very counterintuitive. And again, it's very counter to our little therapist egos of like, but I'm suffering for everyone else.
Mhm.
I don't mean to make fun of that. I mean, again, a lot of us have, I joke that we are all monetizing our pain because
Mhm.
we went
There's
into
a
this
reason we're
field.
all therapists. I
There's a
mean,
reason we're all therapists, and it's
yeah.
really beautiful. But we can sometimes carry those old dynamics in. So
Yeah.
I want what you want. And for anyone who's listening, I really hope you'll take some time and just get out a journal and say, what do I really want? And
Yeah.
what if I went for it?
Hmm.
What if I would let myself be weird in this way?
Yeah.
Even if for you weird is, oh, I really want to wear a cardigan and hold coffee and be a typical therapist,
Uh-huh.
That's-
That's what we all do all day. Yeah. Yeah. I have one that I think is really salient for pretty
okay.
much everybody.
Mhm.
And this is the thing that really makes the difference between the people who get full closer to
Mm,
the timeline they want and
mhm,
the people who are like, I don't understand why it's not happening for me.
mm.
And that is taking action after
Mm.
learning. Us
Ooh,
like
yeah.
we're so interested in learning. Like it's most of us are just
Mhm.
wired this way. We're interested in people. We're interested in like
Yeah.
understanding the dynamics of something.
Yep.
And like what I'll see with the people in the program who like just really get after it and they get full and it is exactly what they'd hoped for
Yeah.
is they learn a thing, they implement it. Even if it's imperfectly implemented, they don't learn the thing and then 73 other things about the thing and then think about it and then wait until they feel ready.
Yes,
Like, do
absolutely.
learn the thing, then take imperfect action. You can always tweak it later.
Absolutely. It's so funny. As you say that, I'm like, oh yeah, I love learning and I love learning and not taking action.
Mhm. Yeah.
Which is why I need other people, right? Because they're
Yes.
people like you, other people in my life, masterminds I'm in, coaches. It's
Hmm.
okay, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes I have to limit, self-disclosure. I have to limit, like, hey, Jane, we're not going to buy any more courses until we've actually implemented the last thing we learned. I love
Hmm.
learning.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
fun. But yeah, it really can become avoidance. And
It can.
imperfect action is the only way.
Hmm.
It's the
It's
only way.
for those of us who struggle with perfectionism, it can feel very confrontive. And that's what leads to the
Yes.
avoidance. It's like, I don't feel like I have, my mind completely wrapped around how I want to write this homepage. So I'm going to sit on it for a while. Therapists love to
Mhm.
sit on things for a while and they love
Mhm.
to let their feelings dictate their actions. But
Mhm.
when you're a business owner, you can't give your feelings more credence unless you've
Mhm.
got a trust fund or a partner paying for your life. Like
Mhm.
you need to take action so that you can build what you want and pay your bills.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
And
uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for
it's
a lot of people.
it's uncomfortable. And that actually ties in really nicely with another of the main things, as I was thinking about, gosh, what have I learned in the last decade? Another of the main ideas I've learned is that it is hard, but if we can think about it as everything in your business is here to expand you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, even the hard parts, right? Like, my old coach used to say, like, "It's not all pie and orgasms, Jane." Like,
Wouldn't it be so
yeah.
great if it was?
I know. I mean, sometimes you do the things and things go well and you get the clients, you get the money, but business always is going to involve the occasional problem, right? Or like,
Mhm.
again, our emotional stuff comes up, our perfectionism, our imposter syndrome, um, or even just like it's uncomfortable. Taking action is uncomfortable, being seen, putting yourself out there, and if we have old patterns, like I see this with a lot of therapists, of immediately just weaponizing it against themselves and just beating the crap out of themselves. Like, oh, this is hard. And I'm the worst person ever that I can't seem to motivate to do this, or that versus, okay, what if this is your business saying, hey, here's this really wonderful opportunity to respond to challenges differently with
Mhm.
more self-compassion, with more curiosity, right? Or with imperfect action versus making yourself get it perfectly before you take action. Like, all
Mhm.
of this is a healing process,
Yeah.
and your business can really be healing you. So
Mhm.
I call coaching stealth therapy because my clients cry all the time.
Don't put that as your headline.
I don't think, yeah, that's not going to be my tagline. Um, but also, another lesson: humor is very important. We laugh a
Mhm.
lot, but sometimes they cry because they go, "Oh, wait a second, my business isn't Sister Mary Francine from Catholic school trying to wrap me on the knuckles. Like, my business
Mhm.
is actually pulling for me. Isn't it? Isn't that a beautiful thing? And that
Mm.
I can move through this challenge. I can learn how to be someone who takes action and really like myself in the process.
Yeah.
You
And I think
know?
about how, I mean, this is a vast oversimplification of therapy, but
Yeah.
like therapists are problem solvers. Vast
Yeah.
oversimplification. But if we are in a business that has a problem, which is every single business, almost every moment of that business,
Yeah.
like who better to be in charge of that business than somebody who's a professional problem solver?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Exactly. Like, I joke that I'm a therapist for business and I like to put the business on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
But as therapists, we all have that capability. Like, we really can say, all right, my private practice needs to be put on the couch. What's going on here?
Mhm.
What's making this hard? What's coming up for me? Um, a little bit of navel gazing can actually help you do the action part.
Right. It's funny because like you and we work in very different way. Like we're
Oh yeah.
wired very differently, right? Like I
Yes.
think it can boil down very easily to like Enneagram 3 Allison, Enneagram 9 Jane. Like
I'm such a
there's
nine.
yeah, there's just like a difference. The external
Hmm.
appearance of it all is that there's a difference in speed.
Hmm.
But the internal experience is there is an avoidance and denial in me that allows for
Hmm.
that speed, whereas you will be with something and then take action. Um, and I think that
And I'll
that's
be with it too long a lot of the time. I mean,
sometimes, yeah,
that's okay. I forgive
yeah,
myself.
yeah. I mean, this is something we talk about all the time, y'all. So,
Uh-huh.
like this is just a part of. Whereas I'll be like, don't want to feel that, don't want to feel that. I'm just gonna keep achieving or doing in order to not feel because I don't want to feel any more than any of my clients want to feel.
Mm.
And when I give myself the time and the space to
Mhm.
feel, it sucks. And good things always happen
Mhm.
eventually, not in the moment.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. And
but
my pattern is I'll feel it and I'll feel it and I'll work through it, and this is where I know that I need other people,
mhm,
because one of the gifts of other people is that they'll say, "Okay, it's time to do it. Like just do the
mhm,
imperfect thing and we've got you."
yeah,
Right? Like
yeah,
I love what you've created in the abundance party or the community, um, where yeah, people can say, "Oh, something went really wrong here," or "I'm
mhm,
really lost," or "I feel
mhm,
terrible," I double booked, or whatever. And everyone's there, like other people are there to hold you and go, "Hey, it's okay.
absolutely,
You
yeah,
can take action. And if you fail or, if something goes wrong, we've got you. We're not going to beat you up."
mhm,
So, yeah, yeah. So even just this idea of like, like your business is going to show you your patterns. And
mhm,
rather than I've got to change my patterns, like I'm not going to turn myself into an Enneagram 3.
mhm,
I've learned after all these years, but if I can say, all right, well, I know my patterns, therefore, how do I work with them? And
mhm.
what helps me actually take action?
Right. And
Yeah.
often relationship,
Yeah.
community, like, because you'll ask me some feeling question around a business thing that I'm stumped on, and I'm like, damn it, Jane, but I need to go there.
Yeah.
Whereas like I'll be like, so when are you putting that in your calendar, Jane? When are you getting it
Yes.
done? And so having friends, like true friends that you can talk about your businesses with,
Yeah.
business like back and forth, your two businesses each of you have, because there's going to be you're going to need support and so are they. That's the way it goes. You can try to
Absolutely.
do this alone, but it's just miserable.
Oof, it's miserable. And okay, it's so funny because I'm like, I keep going, oh, and there's another point that we're getting to,
Uh-huh. Do it.
which I think this kind of touches on what I've already said, but this needs to be fun.
Yeah.
It's going to be, of course, again, it's going to be hard. And you and I have wept and ugly cried through some really difficult
Yeah.
moments, but this process can also be fun. And actually, when it's fun, you're more productive. You're more likely
Hmm.
to actually do the thing.
Yeah.
When you give yourself permission to have fun with it, again, you're more likely to lean into what you want.
Hmm.
But even like I'm thinking about, like, I think about us a decade ago and how hard our initial mistakes were and failures, and I
Hmm.
think back with this like wistfulness of, oh, cute little Jane and Allison, and bless our little hearts that we're making these efforts and we're learning along the way, and we're like
Hmm.
little awkward middle schooler. Or I'll speak for myself. I look back
Oh,
at myself,
you speak for me too, girl.
a little awkward middle schooler, like where it's not like, oh, I can't believe I screwed that up. It's like, no, no,
Hmm.
no, like, oh, honestly, as I was making big mistakes, I wish I was enjoying the whole process more,
Hmm.
because it was all part of it. Like
Right.
those mistakes led me to here, and
Right.
they needed to happen. And it was just like Jane walking out with the gangly legs and the pimple and whatever onto the middle school dance floor, and that's so sweet and that's so good. And I was learning so much. And like,
Mhm.
what if we enjoyed the whole process?
Right. What if instead of the step touch on the middle school dance floor, we'd done the worm?
Exactly.
That'd be way more
Perfect
fun.
continuation of the metaphor, Allison.
Thank you. Lots of practice with metaphors as a therapist, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, see, that's another advantage that therapists have as business people. We've got
Oh my
all the
gosh.
metaphors. I mean,
Yeah.
come on.
And all the pain points and all the I mean, like we really are, y'all, we're really set up to be like amazing marketers.
The best marketers. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
totally.
We just got to get over our like fear of being seen. I make it sound like it's
Mhm.
really easy. Just get over your fear of being seen. But like
Just
we
get
need
over
to
it.
get over our fear of being seen and learn how to message. And that's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Well,
just
it's
mindset
exposure
and
therapy.
some work. Yeah. Yeah.
Again, if we're going to put it in therapeutic terms, it's like,
Hmm.
well, the answer to being seen is like just be seen, like start
Yeah.
showing up, you know?
Hmm. I mean,
So,
I think about like, yeah, I got a little teary-eyed when you were talking about, oh shit, it's happening again. Us like ugly
mm,
sobbing to each other. Like the number
mm,
of times we've done that over this decade.
yeah,
Um, and I think that's important to share too, because it's not like we were babies and we learned how to do it and figured it out and it was smooth sailing from there.
right.
There have been hiccups throughout the entire experience that
Yeah,
feel very deep.
yeah.
And like hit on self-worth and hit on all
Mhm.
sorts of whatever issues we had coming into being business owners or coming into being a human, right?
Yeah, totally,
It's going to be tripped and it's so important to have support.
totally. It really, I use this, it's funny, like I use this analogy with my counseling clients. I use it with my coaching clients, but we're on this spiral, right?
Hmm.
Where yes, you are moving upward, you're learning, you're growing, but periodically the view is the same,
Hmm.
where it's like, ah, this stuff again,
Hmm.
my old self-worth stuff again. I thought I'd kicked this,
Yeah.
or my fear of being seen again, my fear of taking action. I thought I'd already dealt with that. It's like, no, no, no. Like you have made progress. You're higher up on the spiral, you're higher up on the mountain, but the view may look very similar.
Hmm.
And periodically you're on the other side of the mountain or that spiral of moving up the mountain where it's like, oh, okay, yay, I did a brave thing. I'm making progress. Isn't that
Hmm.
great? But yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same. I mean, I looked back at some old journals from when I was in seventh grade. I journaled a lot. Seventh grade,
Hmm.
10th grade, early 20s. And I was like, it is the same stuff. It's the
Hmm.
same stuff, different people, slightly different developmental level. Like,
Hmm.
same stuff. Do people like me? Am I good enough?
Hmm. Yeah.
And it's the same thing in business, but you are growing.
Hmm.
You are you're developing. You're healing your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's an interesting opportunity. Like I think when
Mhm.
most people are like, I'm going to start a private practice, they're not
Mhm.
thinking, you know what would really amp up my personal development? You know?
Right? Yeah.
They're like, they don't even consider that for the most part because they're like, well, I have
Yeah.
therapy for that. I'm just going to start this business to like feed myself
Right.
better, to not have to work so much, to like have
Right.
a better work-life balance. And the
Uh-huh.
opportunity is there for all of us. And
Yeah.
the more you work with that opportunity, the better your life will be.
Yeah.
And usually the more successful you'll be also.
Yeah. I think that reframe is so important to me because it changes it from yeah, like it's like, okay, well, I'm starting this practice. I need to make more money and I'd like to, enjoy my life more. But if I know, oh no, 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 this is a whole process, again, it helps immediately reframe the challenges that come up and
Mhm.
go, oh, no, 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 this is why this is a whole thing. This is why my stuff is coming up. Like now I can expect it and welcome it
Mhm.
versus resisting it and going, "Oh, it's another challenge I have to overcome," you
Yeah.
know? And it just brings a lot more ease. Like I really want you, I want me, I want all the therapists that we're helping to have a lot more fun and a lot more ease,
Mhm. Yeah.
you know? And even just the orientation we have towards the challenges of this work of being a business person,
Mhm.
can really bring a lot more ease and really a lot more fun into the
Mhm.
whole process, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And life
Yeah.
is short. This should be fun,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah. And the idea of it just like being fun ongoingly and being
Yeah.
hard ongoingly, like letting both
Yeah.
exist, that it's not that the fun is only there when the hard isn't there.
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
concurrent. There's like the excitement
Yeah.
and there's the fear and
Yeah.
there's the joy and there's the grief. It's
It's being alive.
oh
Ooh, we're
yeah,
going deep.
we're going deep.
Ooh, oh, okay. Two things. I was listening to your recent interview with Paul Fugelsang, our mutual friend,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
about suffering,
Yeah.
right? And like, well, what if we just let it be there?
Mm-hmm.
And what if
I'm
we
like, damn it, Paul.
I know, Paul. Okay, side story. It's so funny. I'm going down three different rabbit trails here. Paul is the one when I was about to launch my kind of relaunch my coaching practice after the first iteration bombed. Yeah, like, oh, I don't want to hit send on the, publish on my website. I'm nervous and blah, blah, blah. And he just calmly looked at me and he was like, well, Jane, the thing is, you're going to die.
Jane and I looked at each other. We were at breakfast. Jane and I looked at each other like, what?
And if you've listened to the other episode, you know he has this very like calm, quiet voice. His father was a monk. Like he's so quiet and grounded and the gravitas, and I was like, oh, and he was like, life is short. Like you're gonna die. Do the thing. Do this thing you want to do. Just go
Mhm.
for it. Take
Mhm.
action. Like that is a thing that helps me take action too, is that
Mhm.
existential stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, hey Jane, by the way, you're gonna die someday. Do the stuff. Um, so yeah, but it was funny because that's so Paul.
So Paul,
Speaking
I
of
love it. I love him.
uniqueness, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're coexisting with the suffering and the fun and letting them all be there together.
Mhm.
Oh, my original rabbit trail I was going to go down and I'm losing it. Shoot. Along those lines. But anyway, it's okay. You're getting the point.
Yeah.
um, oh shoot. No, it's gone. Okay.
That's all right.
I'm usually good at maintaining my hold on all the different threads we're going down. But um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Well, for those of you who are in the party, Jane and I are going to go even deeper in the training later this month. And for those of you who are not in the party, you're welcome to join us in the party and partake. We'll teach you in the party like everything you need to know to build your practice and
yeah,
support you. And the only non-dramatic Facebook group I've ever seen for therapists.
yeah.
And
And I
um,
promise not to talk about death as much during the next one. Unless,
hard.
you know.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Jane. I love seeing you all the
Oh,
time. So
I
thank you
love
for being
seeing you
here.
too. Thanks for who you are. And
Oh,
thanks
you
for what you're
too.
doing. I love your authenticity in this conversation. And I love that that's the culture that you've created in the community. And I want to add for those listening who don't live here in Asheville, North Carolina, Allison really has impacted the culture of our therapist community in this town,
Mhm. Thank you.
where there's a lot the abundance mindset. I've lived here 23 years. I've seen such a shift in that. And I really appreciate you for that. So
Thank you. I
you're
appreciate it.
welcome. Yeah. Yay.
All right. I'll see you later.
Okay. Bye.